and welcome to RVing in New England. And we have a special guest tonight. We'll bring him on later on. And let me just bring John back up here and make sure that he can hear us. And John, can you hear me all right?
Bob, I hear you great.
That's fantastic. All right, so we got Chris sitting in the green room, so we'll let him sit there for a couple of minutes and get this thing going. We don't have a lot of activity to report this week.
Did you put the wine and cheese in the green room? Is it stocked with the wine and cheese?
I need you a little bit louder, John.
Is the green room stocked with wine and cheese for Chris, at least?
Absolutely. Nothing but the best for Chris.
Okay.
This week we have a big open house up in East Montpelier, Vermont, with Chris, Connie, and Bruce. I'll turn those around backwards. Meckelson's RV. They're actually starting to celebrate their 51st anniversary up there in Vermont. So if you're up that way, make sure you stop in and say hello to them. And we have the Vacation Land Show, probably the last big consumer show of the season here in New England. We got the Vacation Land Show
up in the great state of Maine.
The great state of Maine, Auburn, Maine. And we've got Seacoast RVs and Lee's Family Trailer Sales who will be exhibiting at that show. That's Saturday and Sunday. That's not a Friday show. So we've got that out of the way. I don't think there's a whole lot of other news. Anything that got you excited this week, John?
Well, you know what, Bob? You know what really got me excited? On last Saturday morning, I picked up the RV from winter storage and drove it back to the place where I keep it during the summer season. And I'll tell you, just getting in that baby and driving it just 7 miles back to my other garage was a great feeling. And then today and yesterday we got it de-winterized, and today I got my inspection sticker, so I'm ready to go. And it's kind of mixed emotions because as I was driving to the inspection station, it was snowing and I had the windshield on and the heat on. So I'm looking forward to reversing that thermometer, that temperature gauge, and putting the air conditioning on, putting short sleeves on, being able to take the gloves and the winter hat off, and really do with the RV what it was intended to do.
Kind of tough driving around with the ice scraper in the RV.
It just doesn't have a nice ring to
it. Speaking about baby, was there something else in your life that happened this week?
Oh, my daughter's never going to forget. Yeah, Friday night at 9:48, we had grandchild number 6, and he's already been fitted for a car seat to come in the motorhome. And now we have 3 traveling teams, because we have the 8-year-old and the 6-year-old, then the 5-year-old and the 3-year-old, and then the 6-month-old and the 4-day-old. So I don't think we're going to attempt to bring them all out at once, but they're all looking forward to it as well. So you know what?
That's a treat in the motorhome for a 9-passenger van.
Yeah, you hear the term family camping, and that's what it's all about, because even though the weather is not really camping weather, the kids are already saying, "Papa and Nana, let's go camping."
That's fantastic. Well, let's jump in with Chris. And I don't want you people to think that we paid a talent agent a lot of money to get Chris on the show. He should be popping. There he is, Chris Doherty. We don't have to pay talent agencies. John and I have known Chris for a number of years. He happens to live here in the Springfield, Mass area. Probably, and not because he's on our show, but probably one of the most knowledgeable guys you're going to find in the RV industry when it comes to the technical aspects of how these things run and how they work, and joined the Trailer Life team probably sometime last year. Chris, give him a little bit of your background, and the comments I'm sure will start flying in, but welcome to the show. We're glad to have you.
Thank you very much. It's good to see you both, and great to be on the show. This is great having RVing New England. I always try to encourage people to come up to New England and see what we've got to do up here with their RV, and so it's great. I've been playing in the RV industry for quite a while. I grew up with it. My family got their first RV when I was 3 years old, and so I kind of grew up with it. It's been part of my life ever since. And so back in the late 90s, I started working part-time at a great park in Rhinebeck, New York, in Interlake RV Park, and with the Dumases, and started my career in the RV industry there, and started doing RV service and so forth, and it's kind of all gone from there. So I wrote with RV Travel for quite a while and RV Pro magazine, and then got hired a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, just about exactly now, by Motorhome and Trailer Life to be the technical editor, and it's been a fantastic ride ever since. It's been great.
Hey, Bob, I think it's important to point out what Chris is not telling us, in that he's one of the few journalists that has actually done what he's writing about, because he had a couple couple other positions there where he was doing hands-on work. And I think it's so important in the RV industry. So many people that write about it and talk about it and work in it ain't never been RVing. Mm-hmm. And, Chris's situation is such that he can fix it from an air conditioner on top to what kind of tires there are, should be on the RV and motorhome, whatever you want to call it. And I think it's great. Our listeners tonight and viewers tonight should really take advantage of Chris' expertise in virtually every aspect of RVing. And I'm excited to have Chris on as our guest tonight.
Well, thank you.
I think you could build one from the ground up. I know he's done some major renovations on his own RV. So, if you didn't like this particular job, you could go out and become an RV manufacturer. But we got plenty of those. Tell us a little bit about your responsibilities at the magazines, and the two great magazines, and hopefully most of our listeners get them. But tell us a little bit about the role that you play on the magazine staff.
Well, the two magazines have actually got quite a history. They are the oldest RV publications in existence, and they've been continuously published. Excuse me. Trailer Life is 76 years old now. Motorhome is turning 50 this year. So we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of Motorhome all year. Both magazines are technical magazines, so we spend a lot of time, just like Motor Trend and Car and Driver and magazines like that, talking about the vehicles themselves from a technical standpoint. So we do a lot of installs, we do a lot of technical advice, things like that. My responsibility with the magazines is to take a look at all the technical content and to make sure it's correct. And I do quite a bit of editorial myself, but I also run the testing program for the magazine. So we actually go out and test quite a few RVs a year, at least 24 a year, which is a pretty detailed process. And so I'm responsible for making sure all that happens as well. So it's got quite a bit going on.
I guess Jerry plans for this tonight, and Jerry's always a good contributor. He's got a question for you. Can you see that on your screen, Chris? Or
yeah. So the question is, rule of thumb on solar: 100 watts per 100 amp hours of battery, true or not? That's an interesting question, and we just kind of went through that a little bit. And that's not necessarily true. The best way to size a solar system for your RV is actually to start with what your load is going to be. So you've got to see, okay, how much demand am I going to have for power, and 12-volt power? And then you're going to build your solar system from there so that you can replace that amount of power during the expected amount of daylight during the day. So there's some different things on that. And we actually have an article coming out very soon in the next, in the June issue of Trailer Life about solar systems. And so it goes into some detail on that there.
Speaking about solar, Chris, we see a lot of people now in the campgrounds with, I guess I'd call them portable or on-demand solar systems. Can you talk to that? Because I understand from our dealers that in their parts and accessory store, these things are flying off the shelf. So who's buying them, and what advice do you have when they're actually buying those? John's got a question.
Yeah, you're referring to the ones that people plug in and leave on the side of the
right.
unit, just like a satellite dish. Not the ones that are permanently affixed to the roof. Is
No,
that
no,
right,
no, the
Bob?
ones that are sitting next to this step. Yeah, right.
Okay,
Yeah.
Chris.
Yeah, and that's and they're very common. There's a few manufacturers, Amp Solar, Furrion. There's others out there that make portable suitcase style solar panels that you can take along. And a lot of RVs now are coming with the receptacle or the plug right on the side of the RV.
Yep.
And so those are great. They'll help to charge your battery, and really most folks, when they go out dry camping, they're not using a lot of power. So a system like that will work very well. Where you have to really start getting into calculating your loads a little bit more, if you have a residential refrigerator, for instance. So a lot of fifth wheels and motorhomes today come with the residential refrigerators that work off an inverter. So the coach will have, say, 1,000-watt inverter on board. You're going to have to calculate the draw from that, as well as your lights and any other loads that you're doing over the course of 24 hours. And then you would have to be able to replace that power during the day. So for those kind of coaches, the suitcase type units will refresh, will add to the ability of the solar system to recharge the batteries. But when you're doing something like that, you're probably going to need a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that they have the pre-wiring on the unit. So are they becoming as popular as when they started to pre-wire everything for air conditioners? Now most of the units come with air conditioners. I don't see too many being sold without an air conditioner. But as we get into this new technology, that's a good way to do it. Now, do they wind up paying extra for the pre-wiring? Is that an option, do you know, or do most manufacturers now just say, look, this technology is coming, we may as well be ready for it, and we may as well have consumer ready for it?
A lot of the units are coming with the solar, what they call a solar package, so pre-wiring for solar. There are a few units that come with a solar system on them, and it's certainly something that can be added aftermarket. So even if let's say you're going to go buy a new RV and you know you're going to want solar on it, it is absolutely possible to add it. Another point, and this is discussed in the article that's coming up, is that the pre-wiring for solar, the wiring for that may not be heavy enough for your demands. So it just depends on, if you are buying an RV with the intention of doing a lot of dry camping, and especially our friends out west do a lot of that down the desert Southwest during the wintertime. If you think you're going to be doing that, if it comes with the solar wiring, that's fine. But if your system's going to be larger than that wiring can handle, they're going to end up either adding wiring or actually replacing that cable to make the system work right. And you want to keep your voltage loss down to less than 5%. So they can be putting 10 gauge or even larger cable from your solar charger down to the batteries.
Hey, Chris, for the person who has
got all that down, John, I know you're really technical. Do you have all that written down?
I have written down. Yeah. I was just going to say, if we go to a local dealership and tell them that that's what you want, I'm not going to be able to define if they're doing the right thing. But is this common now for? Because I like that idea. I like that add-on program there, especially on where I'm just overnighting at even a truck stop where I'm not in a campground that particular night because I'm just passing through an area. Mm-hmm. But what should you ask for, and is there a ballpark price that one should be aware of, assuming you have like a 25 or 30 foot motorhome or travel trailer that doesn't have the residential refrigerator?
Yep. Well, first of all, there's a lot of options in solar. So you can choose different types of solar panels. You can choose different types of chargers in different sizes. You're going to have a battery bank that's going to be able to hold the amount of power that you're going to want to use, and then you're going to, have to be able to recharge and replace that. So there's a lot of little pieces that go into it. If you take a search online, you'll find some solar calculators online for RVs that are very good. And I can get back to you guys later on with a couple of examples if you want that you can put in on the Facebook page if you want to. And this will also be in the article. There's a number of links and websites at the end of the article that's going to be in Trailer Life. But the size of the RV doesn't really matter that much. It doesn't have to do with the size of the RV necessarily. It has to do with your power consumption. And where the size of the RV matters is how many solar panels you can attach to the roof. But you can also, use the portable ones as well. So you do have a couple of different options.
Okay.
Interesting. John just mentioned that he took the motorhome out of hibernation, so he's all excited. He wants to go camping. I know you got an article about these little spring tips and everything. What tips do you have for our listeners and viewers here that they should be paying attention to now that they've got the tarps off or get it out of the indoor storage?
Mm-hmm. And then I have a specific question for you, Chris, after you go over the general.
Okay. Well, hopefully you've, especially in this environment, you've covered your RV for the winter. And, an RV cover is a very good investment. It is a lot better than a tarp. In fact, I like to say probably better to not cover your RV than to cover it with a cheap tarp from a hardware store or one of these tool stores, because
explain the reason behind that, Chris.
Okay, the vinyl tarps are very abrasive, and they're designed to cover pile of wood in the backyard or your garden tractor or whatever, use it as a cover on your utility trailer. But the thing about it is, when you use it for a long period of time, a couple of things happen. First of all, wind will get underneath it, and it doesn't matter how tightly you tie it down, it's going to abrade the side and the roof of the RV. And so I've seen a number of instances where these tarps have actually rubbed right through the roof membrane. And wow. I've also seen it where they can take the paint off the sides or off the moldings and the corners, things like that. So they're really just not a good choice. Another thing with these tarps is they hold moisture underneath. And if you don't, during the middle of winter, mold and mildew isn't going to grow. But if you leave them on too long and it gets warm, then the mildew can certainly grow, and it can grow into the roof membrane and cause problems. So tarps just aren't a good idea. RV covers, on the other hand, are made of material that will not damage the roof and sides of the RV. A lot of them have Tyvek tops, and Tyvek is a fabric. We used to use it in the fire service. I'm retired from the fire service. And so Tyvek is a fabric that will allow moisture to pass through one direction. And so it'll allow any moisture that does get underneath the cover, between the cover and the roof, it'll allow it to evaporate. So that's a big way of preventing mildew. And then other types of tarps that are a little bit heavier duty may not have the Tyvek top, but they'll be vented. So that'll allow airflow underneath the cover. And it's form-fitting, so it will cover the whole RV, and it will protect the sides and the plastics and things like that from degradation, which is really important.
How about washing it and checking fluids and batteries and things like that?
Absolutely. So, I like to say, when you're going to take your unit out for the season, you want to uncover it, get your cover dried out. You want to try to do it when it's been dry for a few days, so that hopefully there's no moisture left in your cover and you can roll it up and put it away for the season. If not, you're going to want to make sure you do dry it out before you store it permanently. You want to start on the outside. So I always like to take a walk around the RV and inspect everything. I like to go up on the roof, check all the sealants, make sure that there's no damage up there. And this is especially important for people with seasonal RVs that they've had at a campground. I remember we had issues with pine trees that would break during the wintertime, and the boughs could come down and spear right through an RV roof. And, of course, there's nobody there, so they just stay there until the spring. So you want to go up, if anything's fallen on the roof, branches, things like that, you want to make sure there's no damage and there's no leaks. So you're going to take a look at all the seals on the sides, the roof, make sure everything's good. And then you're going to want to wash it. So you start on the roof and use a good RV roof cleaner and treatment. And you take a look at the websites or the instructions for the roof membrane that you have on your roof. So you want to follow those directions pretty carefully. And then wash and, yes, hand wax your RV.
Regarding that roof, could you give us some precautions? Because, somebody over 65, or whatever your age, it may not be the smartest thing to attempt to go up on that roof. And I know in my case where I'm just a few pounds over the weight limit on the ladder. So if you could have any words of wisdom about getting that roof cleaned.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not comfortable going up on the roof, or you're concerned that, you have a weight issue, or you have, you're just not comfortable with heights, that type of thing, you can have a professional take care of it for you. A lot of dealerships, the dealership I used to be a service manager at, Diamond RV here in West Hatfield, we had a program where if you came to the dealership, we would do a free roof inspection for you, and you'd only get charged if there was sealants that needed to be repaired or replaced, and we would just charge the amount of money for the sealants and whatever time was involved in doing that. And I think a lot of dealers will probably do that. In other parts of the country, there are RV cleaning companies all over the place. I spent some time in Florida this year, and they had these companies that would come through the campgrounds and will wax your RV, and they'll do the roofs and everything else. So those are services that are certainly available to get that done. So if you're not comfortable going on the roof, there are other options for getting it done.
The worst thing in the world to be is getting ready for the season, and then all of a sudden you've got a couple broken legs or broken arms because you tried to save a few bucks and didn't realize that roof already was slick because of what was up there before you even put any liquid on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're not comfortable doing it, have a certified technician or somebody take care of the sealants for you, and and certainly get it washed.
Well,
Dawn Polk just joined us. She said to say hello, Chris and Bob.
Hi, Dawn. How are you doing? Good to see you.
Hi, Don. So speaking about that and the roofs, and let's face it, a lot of the RVers, they love to use their RVs, but they don't do as much preventive maintenance as they should. And there are several different types of roofs and several different types of sealants and components. And this is where I always get on my soapbox about having a relationship with the dealer that you purchased it from, or if you purchased it, when you lived someplace else and moved to New England, the importance of having a relationship with a dealer versus running down to Walmart and picking something off the shelf that you have no idea what it is, or even worse, going on to Amazon and buying products that really do more damage to your unit. So how about some words of wisdom for the audience with that respect? Because that's a big issue in our business.
It's a huge issue. Leaks have always been a problem with RVs, and there's good reason for that. RVs, when they go down the road, they put up with a hurricane and an earthquake every time they go down the road. They're built to be light enough so that we can legally and easily take them down the road. But you want them strong enough so that they can put up with a lot of that pounding. And if you took your regular house down the road, you'd have a pile of sticks by the time you got a couple of blocks away, whereas your RV puts up with a lot of miles and a lot of pounding. So all said and done, they put up with quite a bit. The bodies will flex, and they're also bombarded by UV, by heat, the summer sun, and frigid cold and ice during the wintertime. So they really have to put up with quite a bit. RVs come with a couple of different types of roofs. So we have basically three types of membranes that go on the roof. EPDM rubber, which has been around quite a long time. We have TPO, which is a type of plastic, and now PVC roofs are starting to come into favor. When you're dealing with one of these membranes, it's very important that you take a good look at your owner's manual. You find out which roof membrane you have, and you're going to use products that are appropriate and recommended for it. So a lot of trailers come with Alpha Systems TPO roofs. They actually have their own sealants for those roofs that are not only compatible with their product, but also come in the various colors that go along with your roof. So if you have a tan roof, you can get the matching tan sealant for it. Dicor roofs, same thing. And the PVC roofs that are coming out, LaSalle Bristol has theirs, the Extreme PVC, and they have their own products available also. And then you have your different hard type of roofs, so fiberglass and aluminum, and they'll often be sealed with a micro sealant type tape where the seams are, and then they'll also have liquid sealants. So again, check your owner's manual. Winnebago, for instance, has specific sealants that they call out for their units, and you're going to want to use the sealants that are recommended by the manufacturer, and they're available through your dealership.
The young lady in North Carolina has a comment.
Yep, water will find the path of least resistance for sure. It absolutely does. And leaks can be very, very hard to find. And so, the water runs, it gets into a little spot. It can be a little tiny crack in a sealant or where it's peeled a little bit. And it can run into the roof space and walls. And if it sits there long enough, of course, it can cause rot. So that's a tough thing to deal with.
Well, it's one of the things that causes the most frustration, I think, for both the consumer and the dealer. And again, a lot of consumers do not do their own preventive maintenance. And then they take it to the dealer and they've got a problem. And you ask them when's the last time they sealed the roof, and it's a 5-year-old unit, and they say, I've never done that before. And so it's so important that the education that they get at the dealer, and I'll give Don a plug, Don and Mark at RV Education 101. You get the textbooks, you go to the new online streaming programs, and be self-educated. You really have a responsibility. If you're going to make an investment in an RV, then there's a personal responsibility that goes along with that.
Well, Bob, it's just like your house, because if it in fact is your house, you wouldn't go years without checking your own house that you live in 52 weeks a year or 26 weeks, depending upon whether you have a place in another location.
Yeah.
This is a home. And Chris, you had said something very important: earthquake and hurricane, in relation to bringing your unit down the road. I don't want to go over what Bob just said, but could you just define what you meant by that?
Sure. So, a hurricane is officially 75 miles per hour, 75 mile per hour winds. So, if you're going down the interstate highway, of course, in some states, the speed limit is 70 miles an hour. And if you're driving into the wind and it happens to be a windy day, well, you're automatically over the hurricane threshold. And, there's been a lot of talk about our infrastructure of late, and the condition of some of our roads and things like that. A lot of potholes, a lot of different things, and so our vehicles get quite the shake when they're going down the roads. And up here in New England, the winters take quite a beating. Pretty much beat the roads right up, and so we have a lot of potholes and a lot of things like that, and it causes issues. So that's what I mean by that.
Hey, Bob, can I ask further questions? Got nothing to do with the roofs unless we're still on the roofs. But a couple of our viewers, Bob, I don't know if you want to mention what Walter's done, if you can put that comment up. Cleaned and inspected twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm going to go first to Mike Perry. And Mike is with DRG and services all of our dealers with many of the products that they have, and does a tremendous job on educating the dealers and the salespeople. But Mike has a comment there about the Cook Seal Tundra as well, which is for TPO and EPDM. And then Jerry mentions the Seal Tech pressure testing that finds, and this is interesting because this came up this week when I was doing a story on a campground, and the campground actually had a Seal Tech machine. I'm guessing that a lot of consumers have no idea what a Seal Tech machine is, but it is so efficient in finding the leaks. I wish all of our dealers had it and offered it as a service, that people could go in once a year and have their units tested with that. And the benefit of taking care of your roof is what Walter has said here. Since he got his unit, it's cleaned and inspected and sealed twice a year, and it's just like new. So let's talk about the Seal Tech machine, what it does. So if consumers, and I assume for many dealers, they can go to the dealer and say, can you do a Seal Tech test? The dealer will probably fall over backwards that the consumer actually knew what a Seal Tech test was. But talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, the Seal Tech machine is really very neat. And so the basic idea behind it is that it's a fan system that creates a high pressure within the inside of the RV, the closed up RV. And you unscrew the trim and the screen from the roof vent, and you attach the Seal Tech machine to it and set it on the floor in the middle of the unit. You close it up and turn this thing on, and it pressurizes the inside of the RV, and then you go around the outside with a soapy water solution. You start spraying down the RV. And everywhere where there's a leak, the high pressure inside is going to push through the RV, and spots where there's a leak, you're going to have bubbles. And so you mark those with a crayon pencil or tape if you can get it on there. But of course, you're using soap. But as long as you know where they are, then you know where to go back and seal it up. And it really works remarkably well. I've done it on a number of RVs over the years and seen it done, and it really works very, very well.
Yeah, Penny, we're getting a flood of comments there, and if we don't get to all of your comments tonight, which we really, really appreciate, we will go back and respond and answer those. But Penny Elmer, and this is the type of thing that we just do not like to see, and in this industry, Penny says, let me put her up. I'm going to hide my own question there, and that's the RV Education 101 site, and I see that Don has already added that below. But here's something that just shouldn't happen. So, Chris, I want you to address this.
Okay, so you weren't given any maintenance information when you purchased your RV. And what is the site you stated for the RV class? Okay, well, RV Education 101 obviously has some great stuff out there, and they're teaching a lot of that type of stuff. We do that also in Trailer Life and Motorhome magazines. We do a lot of articles on RV maintenance, and you can also see a lot of the articles on the websites that go back a number of years. And you're absolutely right. When you do your orientation or your walkthrough on your RV, it's usually a pretty quick process. And one of the things that they should be showing you is your owner's packet, which is has a lot of information about your particular RV, including some of the maintenance that's on there. And then again, websites like we mentioned, and there are some books out there also that are great for taking a look at doing the proper maintenance of your RV. And again, things that it's very important to keep on top of that. So whether you do the maintenance yourself or you have your dealership or your service center do it, you need to get those things done so that you don't have damage to your RV, and you're going to maintain your value and your investment that way. So it's money well spent.
Just we've already, as we did last 2 weeks, we run over, so we're going to run to 7:45 because we've already had so many questions. But talk a little bit about the app, and you've got the new apps, that your digital aspect of the magazines is great. But also in the magazine, you have the tech lines, or people can write in and ask questions, and you answer those in the magazine. But now we live in the digital age, and people want that instant access, which I'm sure is why you've done such a great job on bringing up the app. But tell the viewers a little bit about the digital app, because you've just done a great job on that.
Sure. So, we do have the printed magazines in Motorhome and Trailer Life, which are very popular. We've had actually a considerable increase in print subscriptions even since I've been there, which is great to see. But we do have right now a small percentage of people that prefer the digital subscription, and they can certainly get that. I'm going to hold up my iPad here, And this is the Trailer Life app that we have on here. And so I have one of the issues here, and I can just hit read, and it actually is an interactive version of the magazine, and you can just kind of flip through. And if you see something you're interested in, you can tap on it. It will take you to a website or to some other media that's on there. And we're constantly looking at improving this, and so we've just had some meetings about some things we're going to do with it. So and all the content is in there. So this is a totally portable electronic version of both magazines.
Where can they get that at, Chris?
So you can go to the iOS, the Apple App Store. You can also go for Android. Go to the store there, and you can download the apps. You can subscribe to the electronic versions of the magazine, I believe, right on the app. And there's also going to be more information on our websites, motorhome.com and trailerlife.com.
Mm-hmm. See how in demand you are, Chris? Look at this. Even in a restaurant in
Hi, Michelle.
She's in Mississippi and watching, I assume, her iPad or her phone. What's on the menu in Mississippi tonight, Michelle?
Crawfish.
Crawfish. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, wait. She's a vegetarian, so maybe.
Oh, that's right.
Crawfish.
I don't know. I'll bet. Yeah, she might eat fish. Yeah.
While Michelle is digesting that question, Chris, let me ask a question that I encountered yesterday when I brought the unit to be de-winterized, and I asked the tech to just change the oil or add some oil to my generator, which is an area that people neglect quite a bit, but that's the topic of another sermon. But he said, when I picked it up, he goes, "Hey, I found the beginnings of a mouse nest." I shouldn't say mouse because there's no such thing as mouse.
Yeah, it's mice.
M-I-C-E. So he gave me a product to put in there. But I'd have to change it like every month or every 2 months, that kind of thing. What other remedies are there for keeping those critters out? Because they love to chew up anything that's chewable in the engine compartment. Luckily, I've kept them, as far as I know, out of the interior living space. But how can I thwart that even more?
I'll tell you what, it's tough. And, I was a full-time RVer for 10 years in upstate New York. And where I park, we just had lots and lots of mice. And so I was fighting that, and I tried every trick under the book at the time. This was quite a long time ago. But there's a few things that you can do. Peppermint oil seems to work very well. And so there's a product out there called Mouse Free, which I have used on customers' rigs, and it does work well. It does require reapplication every year, and if it's a stationary unit, every 3 years. But it's applied underneath the RV with an air spray gun, and it's a mix of a lubricant plus the peppermint oil. So that I've seen work pretty well. Of course, regular traps and things, if you're checking it regularly, regular traps, obviously will work. The sonic devices don't work. People talk about dryer sheets. Dryer sheets don't work. I've seen them in mouse nests in RVs. One of the things that I saw a lot at the RV park was mothballs for units that are stored over the course of the winter. Now, mothballs have associated odors with them, but once you remove them, it clears out pretty quickly. So sometimes the mothballs may help with that. Obviously, if you're in the RV, you're not going to want to have the mothballs because you're not going to be able to stand the smell. But that's not a bad thing. There's some other tricks. They have these sticky pads you can put around tires and things like that, which will supposedly help keep them out. There's some different things. They'll find the other thing you want to do is try to seal your RV up the best way that you can. They're going to find little tiny spaces to get in, and then they chew around it and make it even bigger. But this is part of your inspection process in the spring, is to look through everything and make sure that they have not that there's no signs of mice in there, and that there's no associated damage. I worked on an RV in Poughkeepsie a few years ago where the the trailer had mice come in during the wintertime, and they went back to the bathroom and chewed through a cabinet and a PEX pipe at the same time. So the owners didn't de-winterize their RV at home. They waited till they went camping. They went, hooked up the water and the power, everything else, turned the water on. We're outside having a beverage, enjoying their first night of camping, and water started pouring out the door of the RV. And so I ended up rebuilding the back corner of this unit because the water had gotten into the floor and rotted everything from that pipe. So that's one of the things you want to do, is take a good look at all your plumbing and take a look at everything and make sure it's sound when you open up for the season. So that's part of your spring opening.
Yeah, I see Mike and Jerry both said sniff and stop. Mike, if you rep that, have the company send me over some stuff, and we'll use it during this year, and then talk about it periodically as the season goes on.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah, same thing, Mike. If you can hook me up, I'd be interested in seeing that also.
Yeah, I guess we're big in restaurants tonight. Walter's not local tonight. He's over in Shipshewana. Are you on vacation or having some work done on your rig out there, Walter? Or are you on Good Sam business? I don't know. Shipshewana is a great town, great restaurants. I haven't eaten in that one, but there are certain
5 and 20. I would imagine, Bob, those are the two routes, as opposed to, because I wouldn't want to be eating at the 5 and 10 restaurant for sure.
Well, I suspect those are
people used to eat at the 5 and 10 all the time.
Well, you know what, guys? Yeah, on the lunch counter. But
that's right. Got the hot dog at the Woolworths lunch counter.
That's right. Yep.
If you go to where Tiffin's made, Red Bay, Alabama, they have the best food at the gas stations. Half is gas station and half is restaurant. And, you know, there's a dog food factory down there if you really got a low budget. But
you're being too kind. That gas station, besides gas, is a restaurant. It's a post office. It's a store. It's a bank. It's got. I mean, you just have to stop. You know, we have to run all around town. In Red Bay, Alabama, they just go down to the gas station and take care of all their business.
The funny thing about Red Bay, Alabama, and that surrounding area, is the motorhomes that drive out of there are nicer than and bigger than most of the houses that that are built around that area. I'm not saying anything negative, but it's interesting.
This is great. We're talking about camping, and poor Penny says she's stuck at home in Wisconsin because something held captive, surrounded by snow still. Yeah, they've got still some bad weather out there, and we may still get some snow next week. All right, we got about 3 more minutes, and I think we could talk for 3 days, Chris. This has been fantastic, as always. Great to have you here. But how about
while we're still here, we also want to tell our viewers and listeners down at the bottom of their, obviously they're watching it on Facebook, there's a share button. And, we're going over 5,000 views a week now. And we want Chris to be the record setter. So when you look down at your thing, just share this baby with your friends.
Last week. Yeah.
And we have some dating going
on the Trailer Life Facebook page also. So, people can look at it there and certainly link to it. One of the things I just saw on the live comments a couple of minutes ago is a person said it's rare on a used RV to actually get the owner's packet. Jerry Plant said that. And, that is a problem sometimes for sure. And I understand that. Fortunately, these days, people can go online for the manufacturers that are still in business, of course. Yeah. The downturn changed the landscape a little bit, but the owner's manuals are very often available going back years. And even for some of those brands that aren't around anymore, you'll still be able to find those, and then go look for each component. So you may have a list in your RV of your components, the model numbers, the serial numbers, microwave ovens and converters and all that type of thing. So you can go and find those, and then go online and search for the manuals, and you'll probably find them online. You can make your own packet. Use a 3-ring binder with, clear sleeves, that type of thing. Works out pretty well. Let me
throw one other possible source of owner's manuals there. There are so many owners-based groups, manufacturer-based groups on Facebook and Yahoo that if you belong to, say, a Yahoo group, I have a Navion, and there's a huge, like a 8,000 member group. And a lot of times people, have purchased an 07 or 08 and they don't have manuals, and somebody else in the group does. So a lot of times they will photocopy them and send them along. So feel free to ask your.
Nope, looks like we lost John there.
Sometimes, every once in a while, it freezes up on the
product.
Oh, there he is. Well,
come back. You were frozen up there for a bit, John. But yeah, that's a great source. And also Facebook pages like Living the RV Dream, RV Tips, RV Newbies. Posting on there, you may find somebody that has that particular manual who's willing to scan it and make a PDF and send it over to you. And as those of us who've been in RVing for quite some time know that this is an incredible community of people who truly want to help each other out as they're enjoying the RV lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and if you have questions and things like that, Bob, you had mentioned earlier that we do answer questions in the magazine. So we have the RV Clinic and Trailer Life, and we also have tech questions in Motorhome. So you can go right to the website, and the email addresses will be in there to email our two longtime tech question answers, Ken Friend and Jeff Johnston. So they're both available to answer your questions in the magazine.
Yep, and that's our good friend Jeff Johnston from Rolling on TV.
Yep.
Okay. I think we have some dating going on here with Linda, Bill, and Lisa. So this is turning into a match site here. Now Linda's looking for the guy with the diesel. And
I don't even see Linda's note. Where is it? Oh, there it is.
You, me, and Linda should get together. Look at their dating. Hi, Bill. Hi, Linda. I'm going to have to change the name of the show here from, I don't know what we call it. But you know what, Bob? Where did the time go?
I know.
It's great to have a great guest like Chris that you can, he can answer the same question so many different ways based upon whether it's a travel trailer, whether it's a motorhome, whether it's a fifth wheel. But basically, Chris, wouldn't you say the principles are the same as far as maintenance and preventive maintenance, regardless of what type of unit you have?
For the big things, absolutely. Take it. You want to keep the rodents out. You want to keep it sealed so it doesn't leak, and you want to maintain everything, keep things lubricated. Obviously, if you have a motorhome, you have a chassis and so forth, engine and whatnot. But if you have a generator, trailers, you have your axles, your bearings, brakes, things like that. All need to be maintained. So you want to keep an eye on all those things.
Well, it's been fantastic. As I said, if we did not get to your comment, we will. As John mentioned earlier, if you can share this and tell your friends, because our objective this week is to beat, I think we're up to 5,100 views on Gordon Wilson with the RV Snap Pad, which, by the way, after the show was over last week, he was bombarded with orders for the RV Snap Pad. So people do listen and they share it, and it's a great format. And as you can probably tell, John and I have a lot of fun doing it, and we certainly appreciate you folks joining us. John, I'll give you the last word. Chris, thank you again very much for joining us tonight. We appreciate Trailer Life and Motorhome and what they do for the industry. And John, I will let you close it out, and you can say goodnight to your new grandson.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Bob? I think the word of the week is anticipation. Because everybody's waited, 4 or 5 months to get the RV going again, and we're going to try to get a shakedown cruise, even if we just go to to Mohegan or Foxwoods, just to get a night out in it, and get it on the highway for 50 or 100 miles. Because a week from Friday we head down to Nashville, and got a bunch of friends down there, and we're going to have some fun. We're going to campground it. We're going to flying J it. We're going to roadside rest area. We're going to try a little bit of everything. And you know what? It's the fun of RVing, and we're really looking forward to it. But we want to tell everyone that regardless of where you are, feel free to tune in on your mobile device, as well as if you're, at home and you're looking at it on the big screen. But mobile devices are great as well.
And I forgot, how could I forget this? As you saw on our Facebook page, April is RV month in New England. It's the third year in a row that we've had this promotion. We're going to be announcing Great contest a little bit later this week, and Mike Perry arranged for WineGuard to give us a Connect Wi-Fi device, and that's going to be one of the prizes. We're waiting to hear from a couple other manufacturers on other prizes. We'll be going out and visiting with our dealers and doing videos and pumping up the lifestyle and special sales and those last-minute bargains. And strangely enough, as Chris and I joked about the other day, I saw a post from one of our dealers today, and what did he post? But a 2019 Winnebago. So he's got, as all of our dealers have, lots full of 2018s that are going to be great bargains as we go into the camping season. They don't want them on the lot. They want them in a campground. So make your campground reservations early. We say that every week, and we mean it. And go get yourself a brand new RV and go RVing.
And our 30-minute show is now 50 minutes long.
Right. So we better break the viewing record because we just broke the time record. We may wind up switching to an hour. Chris, thank you. John, thank you.
Have a great night, everyone.
Share, everyone. Go RVing.
Yeah.
Share, share, and share.